And this British lad comes over to me and introduces himself as Cole. And this fella had a face like a London Underground tube map. He was sliced up good and proper. This fella was fucking hardcore, mate. He was in Afghanistan and he was in charge of the Afghani prisoners. When he used to walk past the cell, Afghanis used to spit at him, right? One time he walks past and he gets spat at and he'd had enough, mate. Opened up the cell, pulled one of them out and just fucking unloaded a full round into the fucking top of his head. And yeah, they threw him out of the army, man. Yeah, so that was basically what he was. He went to Colchester, ended up then in a BCAT, and that's where he escaped from. And there he was, bang, von Calais. I'm walking around with him. We're getting close, we're getting quite friendly, but I knew that this geezer had nothing. And he knew I had some connections. He knew the fellas that I was in there with, we were some sort of firm. He could see that. He was treading carefully. He saw what we was in there for and our charges. In his head, he saw opportunity, and I don't blame him, man, because he had nothing, you know what I mean? He had to be an opportunist, mate. But this geezer was a straight up killer. So I knew I had to box clever with this fella because he seemed to be homing in on me big style. Like I was a magnet for these motherfuckers, mate. I still am. So Carl was one of them I knew I had to keep at arm's length. This fella escaped from a UK prison. The way he done it was pretty fucking mental, if I'm honest with you, yeah? Over like 6 months, he got leather jackets. So he had 4 leather jackets. This is a British prison, so had a recreational yard and a football pitch. Right at the bottom of the football pitch was a tractor which was going around cutting the grass. So we knew exactly when this tractor, what day, what time they were cutting the grass, yeah? He waited for the tractor to go all the way past this one spot which was low enough for him to get over to the first tier. And he's already got the leather jackets on, he's ready for this. He goes running over, jumps straight on the top of the tractor. The fella in the tractor, who's another prisoner, is trying to pull his leg and pull him down and stop him going, you know what I mean? Climbs up to the first wall and it is razor wire like that. So he threw himself over the razor wire and rolled over and fell down, and it's took like 3 of the leather jackets off of him, yeah, it ripped him clean off, this razor wire has. Now he's down to 1 leather jacket, mate, and he's looking up at another fucking razor wire fence he's got to now go over. So he's climbing up, goes to the top, and just what else can he do? He's committed, mate. The alarms are going off. He gets at the top, just throws himself over, and it rips off completely, mate, and he is just carved up completely all over his body, all up his arms, his hands and all that, razor wired up to fuck, yeah? How about this for a mate? His mate is there waiting for him, ready to take him straight down to the south, where he jumped straight on a ferry with a fake passport, crossed over to France, drove straight through France and ended up in the next town next to my old man's, which was a place called Calpe. Ended up there, met a bird, started a bar, ended up getting fucked up one night, doing a robbery in Calpe in a bar, and ended up in Foncalais. At this time, just out of the blue, I got back up into my cell in the afternoon and the pedo geezer has gone. But they then move in this fuck off 6'4" Spanish gitano. Yeah, gitano is like a Spanish gypsy, right? But this geezer had the fucking characteristics of a Spanish gypsy. He was fucking massive. He had the mullet at the back, and he was in there for 1 kilo of cocaine and a 9mm with a full clip, mate. Another one, he was befriending me. He didn't know anybody at this time because he hadn't even been out in the wing. He just came straight into the cell. So as we went back out into the yard, I'm walking around the yard with him and we start working out together, you know. But the only thing you can work out with there is bottles of water. So you get your pack of 6 2-litre bottles of water, and that's what you use as your dumbbells. You got a pull-up bar out in the yard, and that's it. It was hard to speak to this fella. As I say, at this time I didn't really know a lot of Spanish. I was trying to learn, because the only way you learn quickly is when you're like around Spanish people and nobody's talking English. So I was learning as quick as I could, but it was hard, the translation between him and me. So it weren't long before he sort of found his feet, found his people, and then he went off doing his own thing, which I was quite happy with that, to be fair. Money comes through to my account. Finally got money. Can finally go to the little shop on the yard, buy some proper food, buy some munchies, buy some fags, phone cards, you fucking name it, man. I'm back in the game. I got 40 euros. It's a start. So at this point, I'm on the phone to my dad. So glad to hear my dad's voice. I'm just reassuring him that I'm gonna be all right. Everything's okay. Just please sort the lawyer out. He assured me that they've sorted out the best lawyer in Spain, a lawyer from Madrid called Jose Carlos. And me and Jose Carlos, is a big long story with this man, and we're still in contact to this day. But Jose Carlos was like an angel, man. Honestly, an expensive angel though. It was 20 grand each each. So it was 60 grand before Carlos would even speak to us, let alone fly from Madrid to Alicante. But my dad was on the outside sorting out the payments, so at least I knew things were happening on the outside. And then I called Daisy straight away. Now Daisy was my girlfriend at the time, and she didn't know anything about nothing. She come from a rich Jewish family, and you know, they did not like me or her being with me, you know. And I'll never forget the day Daisy rolled up on a moped, a pink moped with a Playboy bunny on the side with long blonde hair, and we hit it off from there, you know. But Daisy never knew anything about what I was into, and I didn't want to tell her, you know. There's stories behind that as well, long deep stories we will get into. Daisy's mum and dad were high up in the music industry. There's a whole nother story behind this, so I won't get into that now. But going into prison actually messed up a lot of music opportunities with some high up labels, let's just say. You know, Daisy's mum didn't like me anyway, and you know what I mean, she seen me on Spanish news being led away in cuffs and that, so obviously it didn't go down well with her family, but Daisy loved me. So I'm walking around the yard now, starting to know people. People are starting to come up, ask me questions, you know. I'm finding my feet, I'm finding some people. I wouldn't call them friends, you know what I mean, but I'm talking to people, I'm getting known, I'm getting about. So there was a Russian firm in there, Nikolai Narius, and the other geezer, I didn't know his name, but he fucking never liked me. But Nikolai Narius loved me, and it was the same Russians that I saw that was eyeballing me when I first come in, who I was shit scared of. I mean, they were a monster of men, you know what I mean, compared to me, but they were cool as fuck. They were in there on some, I don't know what they were on some Russian mafia shit, but they were lovely geezers, and they were in there for, I think they were in there for 11 months, and they were just about to get out, but they were having a lot of trouble with the Moroccans way before I even got in there. And the Moroccans, as I say, they were running shit. There was too many of them to kick up with, mate. There was too many of them to do nothing to. They literally was an army and running shit. I wouldn't say they were the hardest, but there was, by numbers, you know, they were the ones. One day, some of the Moroccans, they robbed the Russian cell and robbed the watch out of Nikolai Narius' cell. So tensions were high in the yard at this point, man. At any minute, it is going to go off with the Rockies, mate. As I say, you do not want to get into it with the Rockies. There's too many of them. There's too many numbers, and they're all tooled up, ready to stab the shit out of you. Simple. So I noticed that there was two fellas that were trying to calm this situation down between the Rockies and the Russians, and it was these two fellas, Waid and Nasser. Waid and Nasser were in for like credit card fraud, right? But they pretended to not know each other. They were Marseille mafia. You know anything about Marseille? It's in France, right? But they don't class themselves as French, they class themselves as Marseillan. Waid's brother was shot up with a Kalashnikov on Marseille harbour in a cafe in broad daylight, and they were proper about it, man. But they pretended that they didn't know each other, had different cells and everything, but you know, they were best friends, they were in the same family. Why he'd noticed me, I noticed him. He was like a Tony Montana. He was very small but very loud, and fucking didn't give a shit, mate. So I noticed him, he noticed me. At the time I had this Von Dutch top on I bought from Benidorm, and it was actually a fake one. He looked at my top like that, and he flicked it back and he went, "It's that Fossa," saying that's fake. I went, no fake, no Fossa, and he went, "It's Fossa," and just carried on walking. I thought, oh fucking hell, do you know what I mean? That ain't a good start. And Nasser was down in one of my wings. Waid was up at the top modules in one of the 3 cells which were up there with the 2 Brummy brothers. But Waid was so fucking crazy and had so much respect in there, yeah, for such a small fella. It was mental. But there's so many stories to go with this Waid, yeah, but I will get into that. Waid had a crazy story because he got arrested with his girlfriend. His girlfriend was at the north of Spain. I don't know why she was at the north of Spain, but he was on the east coast, Foncolent Penitentiary, with me. The only way that he could contact his girl and put a message to his girl was every Friday night through a Spanish radio station. She would call in and he would call in, and they would send messages to each other through a radio station. How fucking mad is that? So at this point, Tony is getting close with the Brummy boys, mainly Ed. He's using his money to get to the top cell. Next thing you know, Tony is in the top module sharing a cell with Ed. So me and Don are left in the gutters, mate. We're still in the wings. Tony bought his way to the top. Next thing you know, he's bought a mobile phone and he's making moves on a mobile phone. Well, I don't give a fuck about that as long as he's making moves to help us. But at this time, I didn't trust anything he was saying, man, because it was deep between him and me, man. It was deep before we went in. The story of us coming in there, it's a fucking deep story. I ain't gonna get into it now. But at this point, I was paranoid and I wasn't trusting a motherfucker.